Welcome to Fast Five, where our three panelists get to weigh in on 5 separate topics. Let's get started. The WGA slams FCC chairman over a plan to review Stephen Colbert's joke. Colin, what say you?
Not a whole lot. So I'm not entirely familiar with what happened there, but generally speaking, I would have to believe that anything that Stephen Colbert put out was probably not crude. So I'm not entirely sure what the FCC would have seen as
crude.
Grounds to... Was it crude?
Oh, it was crude. Yeah, they had to bleep him how many times?
Well, it was crude, but it was after 11:30.
Okay, who cares?
Yeah, so I'm not sure some of the things that I haven't heard on the public news that's come out of different left or right, whichever one, hasn't just about been as ridiculous as what Colbert said. Colbert made a joke. Colbert...
He's a comedian.
Yeah, he's a comedian, and it was after 11:30 at night. I think the FCC needs to lay off of it.
Well, now let's clarify that for a second, because first of all, the FCC controls the airwaves. So CNN, MSNBC,
Right.
Fox News, any of the cable-only providers, the FCC has no purview in regulating what they say.
So where did Colbert
can't
make this joke then?
On his show.
On a show.
On his show.
He was beating up Donald Trump,
Which is...
your favorite person.
And then Putin was involved in it, and it was...
and saying that essentially, he was saying that the only good use for Donald Trump's mouth was as a resting place for Putin's,
Interesting. Okay. And this is on syndicated television.
This is on broadcast television.
This
air.
is on a regular channel.
After 11:30.
After 11:30.
I don't care if it's after 1:30.
Well, but...
There's no place for it, and he broke the laws. Now, you know what? Comedy is comedy, but at this point, he's not in comedy. He's in politics, and he's being a buffoon.
On the flip side of that is... Go to the next one.
Well, that's true. We exercise our rights with the remote control, right?
Yes.
Bill Clinton and James Patterson co-writing a thriller.
Does
Ron.
it involve...
Where's the President? Is that the title of it?
No, I can't remember the title at this point. The book covers, you can already see the book cover out on...
is there
The
a
last
dress
president?
or an intern involved?
No, I don't. Well, you don't know. You don't know what it'll...
Any cigars?
I don't.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Where's the cigar? There's a thrill.
Well, it's, again, the dynamics of presidential politics and the leadership of the country has changed dramatically, and there's a lot of things that's going to change with it. I think as the current president has pretty much thrown the rule book out the window, I think you're going to find some other people throwing what used to be civility out the window to an extent as well. I think someone, and it kind of gets to me that either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party can't rein in their own people. Just to make excuses for your party, which either party you're with, and allow them to continue doing what they're doing. I think that the leadership in both parties are at fault right now for allowing this country to just go down the road of a way that is not good for the future.
But back to his thriller.
Yes.
It's about, apparently, the Clinton's thing is adding pieces or adding parts that only a president would know. So they're selling it as this exclusive inside fiction look.
The backstory.
At a president, the backstory.
Cigars, dresses.
Right.
The whole
blue
nine.
dresses.
Now we have to go back to a lot of different presidents. We can't just go back to modern day. The things that happened back in the old days, come on.
Like Johnson having cabinet meetings while
I'm
sitting on a
talking
pot?
the old days.
All right. Okay, Emmanuel Macron vows unity after winning French presidential election. Colin, you're obviously down with this.
Well, every politician is going to vow that, obviously. But I think in the French case, because of the French have been going through somewhat of a crisis of identity here recently, and they've had an upsurge of nationalism, certainly. They've had, in the way of their current president, somebody who has not been particularly strong in standing up to things. I think the real victory here, and I think it's going to be a victory that is going to span outside the borders of France itself, hopefully into the EU, and hopefully onto the world stage, is in the person of Emmanuel Macron. You have a centrist, rational person who has a good track record of working across, with different parties and reaching consensus. And I think that the biggest problem that we have had in international politics is this radicalization, whether on the left or the right. And I can give you plenty of examples that are going the other way. So certainly in Venezuela, you have the complete collapse of the what is left of the Chavez establishment, and you have basically a revolution in the streets. This radicalization on both sides has not been beneficial. The fact that in a lot of countries, and ours especially, you have two factions that can't even agree on the color of the sky, let alone sit down and be able to reach some sort of consensus for the benefit of the country, is a bad thing.
Ron?
I liked a lot of the things he said. I liked his demeanor. I liked the way he's trying to bring, things together, talking about cooperation. But again, another person without any political experience at all. He had enough political experience to win. So maybe it's out the door now that you even need experience to win an election.
All right. Trump administration tries to persuade judges to revive travel ban. Ron, what do you think of that one?
Any person that interferes with a judicial temperament or a decision of a judge, to me, that is a fine and is against the law. It's irresponsible and should never allow to happen. That's messing around with the judicial system, and there's a separation of powers in this country: the administrative branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial. I don't think the President of the United States has one right to say anything about a judge.
That's happened before.
Doesn't say it was right.
Okay. Colin?
I will defer to what Ron said. Again, I think we have a separation of powers in the government for a reason. It doesn't always turn out the way we want it to, but I think that one branch of the government is beholden to accept the decision of another when you have a check and balance system.
E.P.A. dismisses members of major scientific review board. Ron, what about this one?
That's another bad decision. Scientific Review Board, doing away with scientists, and you're going to put a businessman in. You're going to put a businessman in to oversee the regulations that they're having problems with to be able to do business. Look at what happened at Fairchild here. Put all that toxic waste in the ground, and what happened? They wound up being sued by the state of Maryland, the Attorney General. They went out of business. What happened at the railroad stations? What happened at all the Superfund sites? So it's the old fox in the hen house deal, where you allow the people that's going to regulate to actually be the companies that are regulating themselves.
Colin?
Won't work, and I think it's a terrible idea.
Colin?
I see a very, very scary scenario that's playing out here, where we are dismissing science for the benefit of as an expedient to moving forward a certain industrial agenda, and we're already starting to see. I mean, look, I was watching the news this morning. Montreal, Quebec is seeing the biggest rainfalls that they have in over 50 years. And they're going to continue all throughout the week. They're already evacuating large areas of Montreal. Our climate is going down the tubes, and sticking our head in the sand and pretending it's not happening is not going to fix a damn thing.
All right, you'll have the last word on that. Stay tuned. Last call is next.